Oh, look, there he is. That's lucky. Valderin, come over here, please. So the big thing to do against Valderin, I would say is just make sure you manage your defensive cooldowns a bit. Okay. Take a second to like recast your other stuff. I mean, he's actually, I wouldn't say pushover because he can stun lock you to death, but we have enough stun res that I think we're fine. And I mean, there he is. Hey everyone, welcome to another Albrecht's Aether guide video. I'm assuming I correctly have posted the Sorcerer update. And now we're going to do the Spellbinder, the Arcanist Necromancer, Clairvoyant set, Albrecht's Aether build. Oh, there he is. I was distracted by that lore piece that was sitting in the room over there. Alright, here's Alexander. I hit both of my... Oh, he's next to Heroxus. Oh, no, it's not Heroxus. I hit both of my defensive abilities at the same time. That's not good, James. Alexander drops the big green meteor of obnoxiousness. But we have potions. We have mirror. And he is down.
Rise from your grave.
So, let's just jump right into it. Albrecht is at 9 out of 16. Disintegration, 12 out of 12. 1 on Iskander's Elemental Exchange. 12 on Elemental Balance. 8 on Mirror. 12 on Sphere. 6 on Conversion. 1 point on Devastation. Arcane Will. Nullification. And Mental Alacrity. 4 points on Fabric of Reality. 12 points on Inner Focus. On the Necromancer side, 1 point on Siphon Souls, with a point on Seer Souls to turn it into Aether damage. 11 points on Blood Boil. 1 point on Ravenous Earth, 11 points on Decay. Cap out Master of Death. 11 points on Spectral Binding. Cap out Spectral Wrath, and 9 points on Mark of Torment. To sum this build up quite simply, Albrecht is going to be at, well, let's just equip the gear. Albrecht is going to be at 2616 and 2212. Completely capped out AAR. We have our 5 on that, cap, overcapped, overcapped, all the 1-pointers. And then Necromancer side, we have a Blood Boil cap, overcapped Master of Death, and Wraith, Spectral Wrath, capped out Mark, Decay, and Spectral Binding. So here's the thing about, and I mentioned this in the Sorcerer video, I'll mention it here too. Myvan Sphere is great to overcap now. I just put 12 out of 12 on it for pretty much every Arcanist I'm running, because it is just pure damage absorption with no like increasing penalty over time. So it's a buff with the recent changes to it, more recent changes to it, for heavily investing in this ability. But if you're going to do like 1-pointers or a couple points in this, it's actually probably a nerfed up ability. So my recommendation for Myvan Sphere now is to just go ham on it and get as much damage absorption as possible. With the Spellbinder compared to the Sorcerer, we are a lot more relaxed with our points. Because the Sorcerer, you have to very heavily invest in the Demolitionist all the way down to Hellfire Mine to get them basically working. And with this guy, you can go for all sorts of different skills on him. Just to point things out, when I first rolled up this character, we were running Harbinger of Souls, and we had Reap Spirit at 2616, and it was working great. I dropped the Reap Spirit because, I mean, let's face it, it's not a pet build, and I swapped over to Master of Death for the OADA increases. And that kind of freed up points for me to pick up Mark of Torment and cap it out. But there are lots of other things you can do. If you don't need Decay's damage reduction, if you're running like the Dawn Shard Shoulder, you could easily work in Ill Omen instead of Ravenous Earth, or just not have that ability at all. Because, I mean, like I said, there are lots of ways you can take this character. And I mean, even without Harbinger of Souls or Master of Death, you can still go to Reckless Power, and that would actually free up this section of your points, so you can reinvest that in earlier skills. You could pick up Kalidor's Tempest and use that with Wrath of Agravax as either a procer or a knockdowner. You could heavily invest in Fabric of Reality to build up your flat Aether damage, so a conduit can take that damage and funnel it into your Albrechts for you. You could invest in... Hell, you could even invest in Nullification and get a massive elemental damage reduction on enemies. There are a ton of ways to distribute your points with this character, because you pretty much just need Albrecht's Aether Ray capped out, and I would probably say the Spectral abilities capped out, and you could probably go for a 1-pointer there and a 1-pointer there for your defensive abilities. It's a very, very open and customizable class combination with the recent changes to AAR and the existence of the Clairvoyant set. So this character, unlike the Sorcerer, is fully kitted out in the Clairvoyant set. Now, the helmet is kind of a point of contention for Albrecht's Aether Ray right now. Because, let's face it, the Vitality Decay to Albrecht's is basically useless. And the 100% Lightning converted to Vitality damage in Albrecht's is kind of not good. Like, Vitality damage, if you focus on it and you build like a conjurer built around it, it's good. If you're building around it and you're building with the classes proper to it and the skills and gearing towards Vitality damage, it's perfectly fine. But on this, it's actually kind of a DPS loss to run the full set, because we can't take advantage of the Flesh Warp Tomes that I showed in the Sorcerer video. However, it's still just fine, because to make up for it, you get the Clairvoyance proc. So 100% chance on critical attack. You get a heal, bonus, Aether and Vitality damage, and 10% offensive ability. This is going to be up all the time for you. So you're getting a 10% OA boost off of this. And, I mean, I think that kind of more than makes up for it. Not really sure. I'm not a Grim Internals type of guy. I'm more of a let's have fun guys type of guy. So yeah, I'm just going to say with the Spellbinder right now, we're just going to run the whole Clairvoyant set. So that's the helmet. The shoulders and the chest piece are pretty standard caster gear. But you get Chaos converted to Aether damage on both of them, so you get about 50% of that, sometimes more. And incidentally, with Mythic Albrecht's Duality, that converts all Chaos to Aether damage. And that's where you could probably have a Warlock use the set to take advantage of it, because you could get like Aether Doom Bolts, and this set actually has stuff that benefits Doom Bolt. So, yeah, you could potentially run this set with a Warlock with an Albrecht's Duality, and you're running it just fine. So other pieces of gear, we do have a Pulsing Shard. Ours is an Essence Drinkers of Clarity. Pretty much any Pulsing Shard in this particular setup is going to work for you. And I mentioned before in the Sorcerer video that there are, I think, 2 setups to run for this particular character. One is to run a Pulsing Shard for the attack damage converted to health on Aether Ray. The other is to run a Flesh Warp Tome, which converts Vitality to Aether damage, and converts some of the Lightning damage to Aether damage on AAR, which is why, by the way, this helmet is actually a potential DPS decrease, because you're not getting that little bit of conversion off of your offhand with that. So if you run a Flesh Warp Tome, you run a Mythical Essence of the Grim Dawn, which adds flat Aether damage to Aether Ray, in addition to giving it some attack damage converted to health. But we're running a Conduit, and this is why we run Fabric of Reality a little jumped up. And I would actually consider potentially, honestly, if I could get a little more OA and DA, I would consider dropping Master of Death and these points in the Necromancer to heavily overcap and invest in Fabric of Reality for this guy. But like I said, character build's really open. So there's a lot of leeway here for how you distribute your points and what gear you ultimately pick up, because it's just that solid a character. Of course, we're running a Mythical Band of the Eternal Haunt, and like I said, Albrecht's Duality, good AAR, rings. We have Mythical Wraithborn leg wraps, Aether Reach, of course. Some Demonic Stoneplate Greaves of Haste. Now this is actually a minor point for me, and you don't have to run this, but I found to get my run speed into the 130s, I actually needed bonus run speed on my boots. So these boots are not good in terms of like resistance fixing or giving you damage or OADA. I have them strictly because they are Stoneplate Greaves of Haste. They're strictly there to keep this character's movement speed up, because with our devotion layout, we don't actually hit a lot of movement speed nodes, and we're not like a sorcerer or something where we get Vindictive Flame giving us total speed, so we have to kind of make that up, or at least I have to make that up somewhere else. You don't have to run that. If you don't mind walking a little slower, you don't have to go for boots like that. That's just what I'm shooting for on this character. So we got a Mythical Marker of Divinity for survivability, a Mythical Chord of Violent Decay for the +1 to Arcanist, and then it's within our damage types. Good OA too. And then we're running Eternity for resetting our cooldowns a little more smoothly. And you can run Agravax Malice, like I mentioned in the Sorcerer build, because that will just completely, with this setup, convert all the chaos damage on Agravax Malice to Aether damage. And I'm going to point that relic out. Agravax Malice is your alternative relic. That proc is some pretty good damage, and I am considering it more on this guy than the Sorcerer to run that, because I think the cooldown reduction from this is a little less necessary on the Spellbinder, but it's still really, really handy for running your abilities. So notable components, we are running a Seal of Corruption on the weapon, mostly for that little chunk of OA, and then we got a Seal of Resonance on the offhand. I will note that we still have Krieg's Cunnings on this guy for the OA and regen, and we still have Survivor's Ingenuities on the jewelry. The reason for this is this character has not actually finished the Forgotten Gods content, so he doesn't have access to things like Osir's Temper and Bismiel Shroud, I think it is. And that's what I'd be running on this guy instead. I could also go for Forge Fire from Malmoth. Does he have Malmoth? He should have Malmoth resistance. Yeah, I could also go for Forge Fire on the rings and amulet here. But this'll serve the character well until he gets those. And then the rest of the components are some pretty standard components. I would maybe swap out, if I could, if we work on getting some Pierce Res somewhere, I'd probably swap out the Titan plating for something that gives armor absorption. And I think I would switch out the Unholy Inscription here for like an Ugdenbog leather maybe for the DA. And yeah, that would probably work for that, because we could swap out maybe some other... No, actually, we don't have any poison. Oh yeah, we could probably swap out that if we go for the Ugdenbog leather. Yeah, just to shore up his DA. So I would actually say that this build, even though I'm showing it off, is still a little unfinished, because really you want around 2900 DA. So we're looking to get about 200 more DA on this guy. And that'll just happen once he finishes the Forgotten Gods content and we do some augmentation swaps. So I believe the first place it can spawn is right there. Wow. Alright, we gotta walk over here and then up this little hill. Okay. So here's the Reaper. This Edgelord. With his shotguns and everything. going all like, death comes when he teleports, and it's like, man, why you gotta be shouting when you teleport? It's like the least effective thing you can do.
Rise from your grave.
Now, alternatively, before I hop into devotion, there are some DA things we could go and pick up on this guy, and I might still do it. Like, I'm kind of running a weird devotion setup with him that might get changed in the near future. But I like this devotion setup because of its weirdness. So, the DA setups you would want to pick up are this node on Solemn Watcher, and then this node on the Quill, because it's 7% more DA. Now, we didn't go for that. We went for something weird, because I love weird stuff. So for this guy's devotion layout, we have the Imp attached to Devastation to basically turn the ground into a damage mat, and we have the Widow with Arcane Bomb, because Arcane Bomb is just that good. Now, we didn't pick up the Hawk. You may notice we picked up, though, the Lotus. So if you go Imp and Lotus with basically one more point on Primordial, you get the Widow. Now, the Lotus provides us with some physical resistance, in addition to some health and energy regen things. And you may also notice we picked up the Panther for its OA and for the Order Primordial requirements. You also may notice we've picked up the Crane to get the 5 Order, and it's an okay bit of resistance fixing. We do also have the standard thing I love to pick up, which is Time Dilation, and that is used for resetting our cooldowns. I mean, Mirror and Mark of Torment are really good, and resetting them so we can more smoothly alternate between the two is fantastic, right? And then, of course, we are a Necromancer. It is required that we raise dead. It is a law. You can look it up. It is actually a federal law in the United States. I don't know about Europe. They probably have some weird laws about necromancy in Europe, but I know it is federal law that necromancers are required to raise the dead, which is what we've picked up. And the new Raise the Dead is awesome, because these skeletons, you'll have all 6 of them out, and they will absolutely shred resistance on whatever they're attacking. So I do highly recommend Raise the Dead. I actually recommend it for characters that aren't necromancers, and that sorcerer build I did, I could see running Raise the Dead on that guy. They're that good. Now, you may have noticed I picked up 10 whole Order for some reason. Well, that reason is Nature's Guardians. And Nature's Guardians is just straight up damage absorption for you. It's also something that has a cooldown that can be reset by Time Dilation. So, if we're hit, there's a 25% chance that this pops. And at level 15, it's actually, I believe, 25% damage absorption. So this, coupled with Maven Sphere, coupled with Mark of Torment, is a lot of damage absorption. It's also got some pretty not bad health nodes. We got a total speed node in there too, a defensive ability node. So it's actually, all told, not a bad little constellation to pick up. Now, alternatively, like I said, the Spellbinder right now is a very open class in terms of its build you can do within it. Because you pretty much, like I said, just need Albrecht's Aether Ray. And I would say your only required setup is going to go towards Arcane Bomb. Now, if you are running that Flesh Warp Tome, though, that converts Vitality to Aether, I would highly recommend picking up Twin Fangs and attaching it to Albrecht's, because that'll give you a lot of sustain while you're fighting and while you're channeling. And then you can put Arcane Bomb on, like, Siphon Souls, or Aether Corruption, or Ravenous Earth, or whatever other ability you can fit it onto. You can also pick up the first 4 nodes of the Dying God with this setup for more OA. You can come down, I think you need... Yeah, you would come down for the Quill, and that'll give you some Ascendant. And if you need more DA, you can actually pick up the 4 nodes of the Wolverine that give it to you. And also, I recommend Solemn Watcher if you're going for heavy DA stacking. Now, like I said, I'm probably going to respec out of this in the future on this guy, but man, do I love non-conventional, non-meta builds and things. And Spellbinder is really powerful right now, and it's the perfect class to screw around with when it comes to using weird devotions, weird setups, and just different-y things. Because, of course, he's in, like, the corner of the northern part where you never, ever go for any reason except to fight him if he's up here. So, okay, Chupacabra, the Endless Menace. It is a monster that puts vitality pools on the ground that lifesteal. And when you beat the various modes, it splits. And it multiplies. And it multiplies down until you're fighting 4 of the Tenacious version.
Rise from your grave.
So all throughout this video, I have hopefully remembered to intersplice some Nemesis farming that I did with this guy in sort of a previous build setup. But I want to get 1 or 2 of these guys down that are in this current build, just to show it off a bit. And to show that it does, in fact, work. Yeah, this is another one where we're going to be wandering around a bit. Oh, no, we're not going to be wandering around a bit. Huh. How about that? That is extreme Strimmer RNG. Yeah, so Benjar, I just want to keep him away because he can pretty much one-shot you if he crits you. Alright, so we got Fabius up ahead. Gonna kill his dudes back here. Oh, let's kill the Master of the Pit. Yeah, that wasn't difficult at all. So yeah, we're targeting a Blade Spirit guy. So yeah, like I said, we're fine. We're all fine here. I don't even care that he's doing like his... Yeah. I don't even care that he's doing his little blade barrier there. Alright, so we found the Iron Maiden. I figure she's a good enemy to finish this off on, given that, you know, we're a Necromancer. We're part of the Order. We're dressed like a Necromancer Order fanboy. So yeah, we're just gonna focus on her. Gonna just keep the beam up as much as we can and try to fight through any sort of stuns that happen. We have to reset our cooldowns off of our Astral Rip. I'm not a big fan of that, and I might change that in the future. But yeah, we're always shredding her with Siphon Souls. And we're just shredding her resistances with skeletons, and then, you know, putting her down with a giant laser.
Rise from your grave.
Man, that was some audible rain during the recording. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this little guide video. The Spellbinder's in a great place. Lots of build variety going on within this particular setup. Lots of different ways to approach the character, and it's really powerful. I believe I have this guy at SR 60. And I could probably push him up to SR 70 if I tried really, really hard. And didn't get tilted out by like obscene boss combinations that just really, really anger me. But anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys next time.